What do you do it for? What are you running for? What are you running to?
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Candy, so also go by Confidant Candy. If you're new here, thank you for choosing me to watch. If you have subscribed, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about how to write a dissertation, part 2. If you'd like to know more, keep watching. Before you continue watching this video, make sure you check out part 1. I'll leave a link here so you guys know what exactly I studied in my undergraduate program and what I did for my master's program. Firstly, I want to mention that for my master's degree, I did a systematic review, and for my undergraduate program, I conducted my own research, which is also known as primary research. In the rest of this video, I'm going to go through each section of a dissertation, what to write, my word count, and what you need to include to make sure it is the best that you can get it. So let's jump right into the video. First part, introduction. In this section, you want to discuss what the paper will be about and the background research that supports your chosen research question and that supports the purpose of even doing this review or conducting your own research. You want to make reference to prior papers. You also want to state your hypothesis in a final part of the introduction. For my introduction for my master's, I wrote roughly 3,500 words. The title of my dissertation / thesis is Evaluating the Effectiveness of Trauma-Focused Therapies for Women Diagnosed with PTSD as a Result of Intimate Partner Violence. I had to read it off my laptop because it's a long title and I was so stressed with that I completely forgot what I wrote, so I had to go and refresh my memory, you know? That happens when you're, really on it. At some point you're just like, I cannot be bothered to remember and retain all of this information now that I've done it, now that it's submitted. It just needs to get out of my head. So for my introduction, I referenced stats. I included quite a lot of stats like women involved in domestic cases in the UK, different definitions of intimate partner violence, which is also known as partner violence, which may also be referred to domestic partner violence. So there's a lot of different similar terms. I'll also reference therapies and their framework, risk factors, comorbid disorders of PTSD, and then I also stated my aims. The purpose of an aim is what you hope to achieve by doing this review or by conducting your own research. One of my aims was to identify if trauma-focused therapies reduced PTSD symptomology over a 3-month period, and if it was sustained. Next, methodology. One thing that you want your methodology to be is very clear and concise, and you want it to make it very easy for the reader to understand if they have no idea about, research methods and all of that. You want to make it straightforward, and you also want to make it easy to replicate. But if your study is difficult to replicate, that means your study is not valid and it is not reliable. So you need to think of a bunch of questions when you are writing your methodology. How are you going to gather your data? What population are you going to use? Where are you going to get your participants from? How are you going to select your participants? What materials are you going to use? When I wrote this section, I wrote about 1,100 words. As I did a systematic review, I mentioned the journals that I looked for, I mentioned the databases, I mentioned the papers that I referred to, I mentioned the research terms that helped me to narrow down potential papers that I can use to reference. Now for your results section. The aim of the results section is to report your findings, but when you do so, make sure you write it in the past tense. Don't lie about your results to make it sound better. Don't do it. Try to remain as unbiased as possible. In my results section, I made mention of the characteristics of the studies that I found, the mean age of participants, their gender, their sex, how they were recruited for the study. I mentioned the results that I found in each paper, and I ranked each paper in terms of fidelity and quality assessment. I talked about the secondary outcomes that I briefly mentioned in my introduction. I found similarities and differences between the papers and I made reference to them. And I also included stats when I did so. So I'm talking about standard deviation, mean and effect size. And so for this section, I wrote 3,400 words roughly. Now for the discussion. In this section, you want to evaluate your findings against your research question and your hypothesis. What were the strengths and limitations of each study? Is what you found or the research you conducted similar to previous research? If not, what were the differences and how does it relate to theory that you mentioned in the introduction? Sorry, no, I'm fine. I'm fine, I just need water. What do your findings imply for the wider society? Did you find a correlation? Can the results be applied to the general population? Are the sample that you use similar to, that of Britain, that of America? In my systematic review, I talked about each result that I found and I made sure that I linked it back to theory. You always got to link it to theory and of the results. For this section, I wrote roughly 2,600 words. Now, for the conclusion. This section doesn't need to be super lengthy. You want to make sure that you're not repeating yourself. And for this section, I wrote roughly 350 words. In this section, you want to state what needs to be done in future, what research you'd like to see, and what changes need to be made. Abstract. I know the abstract goes first, but I recommend writing the abstract last. The purpose of the abstract is to give a general overview of the study or systematic review. You want to state the participant variables. I'm talking sex, mean age, gender. You want to discuss the research method that you use and discuss your findings very briefly. I was also suggest writing the effect size. And this section is similar to the conclusion in length. I wrote about 380 words. Now, points to bear in mind. When you're doing your reference list, make sure that you're using the correct reference style. It seems so simple, but I had to do my reference list all over again after my tutor checked it. He was like, it's not right. And I had a lot of references. Like, once you've completed it, you'll be like, yo, I've got like at least 10 pages of references. I would also recommend reading previous papers and reading similar papers to get an understanding of how it needs to be written and the things that you need to include in it. So this is my dissertation. This is what it looked like. And I wrote 11,211 words, including my flowchart. And the flowchart just shows you the process of how, let me just show you guys 1 second. And I've got 79 pages. 17,000 words, including my reference list. It's no joke. Masters is no joke. You're expected to write at least 10,000 words. Well, for my course, I was expected to write that much. But if it's a lot of work, girl. It is. It's a lot of work. What am I showing you again? You see, I just got distracted by the words. It's just too much. It's too much. The flowchart. See, I'm still scrolling through my introduction, and this is page 16. This took up so much of my life. So much of my life. What's the flowchart? Okay, flowchart. Let me just show you guys quickly. So I have a record of the databases that I initially found, which was 47,000. And then you have to go through the additional filters to make sure, it's in English. It actually contains the keywords that you're making reference to. And then you have to take away the duplicates. Then you have to read it. It's a lot of work. And in total, I included 10 studies in my systematic review. From 47,000 to 10. Like, it takes a lot of time. I was stressed every day. But in the end, it worked out. And I think this is the best piece of work I've written so far. Because I spent my time on it. You have to make sure that you don't neglect doing your dissertation / thesis. You have to really put the work in. I would suggest start early. Check my previous video as I will tell you guys why. But it is a lot of work. But you can do it. Make sure you plan. Stick to the plan. Be prepared to put in the hard work. And I hope all of you guys that are in uni are still staying strong. I know times are crazy right now, but I'm praying for you, and I hope you still are able to push through and complete your work to the best of your ability. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care.